I don't know if they ever actually had any really good meals or if they just had snack foods, but he was so glad when my mother came that they could have some kind of a normal childhood. But he said, "Oh, I'll take care of them. There's no problem. It's so easy. Women's work is so easy. There's nothing to it." And he'd make a pot of coffee for himself and would keep warming it over, so it was like motor oil at the end. So his friend Stan came to visit, and he offered Stan a cup of coffee, and that was a big laugh because it was not fit to drink. But Nick could cook if he wanted to, so maybe he made scrambled eggs or something. I never thought about it, but then when I came home, my mother came, and she was able to help out a lot, but she didn't stay too long. And Shelley was the best baby of all. She's absolutely wonderful baby because I never tried to breastfeed her. She's never had any tummy aches or colic or whatever they get from what they eat. And she was also the hit of the hospital because she had tons of jet black hair, just amazing. Beautiful, beautiful, lots and lots of hair. So that was interesting. And then for summer, when it got to be summer and it was really hot, it's nice to have a baby in the summer months because you just give them a bath when they get hot and cranky. Just stick them in the sink and sponge them off and powder them, and they're happy again. Don't get heat rash or they're screaming because they're uncomfortable. But she was a very good baby, but she would gulp a bottle down and sometimes throw it up because she ate so fast. But she thrived, and she and Jenny always got along very well. They were because they shared a room, and Gloria and Gail shared a room. So that was how we arranged our household. And I think all the kids on the street loved to come to my house because they could wheel the kids around in carriages or strollers or pretend mothers. So I had an open house all the time. I always had a lot of kids around, the neighbors' kids who wanted to come and play with Gloria or whoever was available. And then of course when they got older, we had the woods and the creek and the little stream. They would go back there and play and all kinds of imaginative games, like they were Indians, or they made little dishes out of the mud along the creek bank and pretend the leaves were plates and the little seeds and berries. So they had a very happy childhood, I think, in that way.
Can you talk about the farm a little bit and what you had on the farm and the crops and the animals and how you came to have such an
Now you're talking about the farm in Southampton, or the one where I was raised?
No, the farm in Southampton.
Oh, well, after Nick started building the house, we had all this land, so he bought a garden tractor, a tiny...
I mean, he came from Brooklyn. He didn't know how to run a farm.
No, but he went to the agricultural school at Cornell.
Right.
And he had observed some farming when he spent one summer on a farm at Whitney Point. That was part of his education. And he just liked to grow things. His mother said that when he was a little kid, she let him have a flower pot on the windowsill, and he'd grow seeds just to see things grow. I don't think anything came of it, but he liked growing things. So he bought a small garden tractor which would allow him to plow, kind of like a rototiller thing. And he plowed and expanded the garden, made it bigger every year, and spent the month of February looking at seed catalogs and trying to figure out what he'd grow, what he'd order. And he also...
Did you tell him? You must have had a lot of knowledge about it, having grown up on the farm.
Well, not so much, because I never actually did much of the planting, but I was aware that, there was a lot going on. But I was the spoiled granddaughter of the owner of the farm, so he had hired men to do all the weeding and the hoeing. Plus my mother did a lot. But Anyway, Nick would start with what they call a cold frame, and he'd make sort of an enclosure, and then have glass over the top of it, so he'd start his seeds early. It was like a miniature greenhouse, a small area that he'd start his plants, and then when the weather got good, he'd plant them out. So he tried everything, and did very well. Did most everything he scientific that he was, seemed to know what fertilizer to use, and was diligent in weeding and trying new things. And I don't know how the sheep came about, but we had friends who we met when we first moved up to Southampton, who raised chickens, and this man was a butcher, and he was also a hunter, so if anybody killed a deer, he would know how to dress it and fix it for consumption. But anyway, Nick always wanted to raise sheep, and that was attractive about this piece of property we bought, because the sheep will eat anything. So there was poison ivy and all sorts of weeds growing, and they'd nibble it right down and thrive on it.
Oh, wow.
And they had the water to drink, and we immediately put up fences. And then some of the neighbors also raised sheep. So we had sheep in 3 different houses.
How many sheep did you have?
We had 5 at the time, the last I remember. We had 5, but then you had to have a ram come and visit to impregnate the ewes so that they would have lambs. So we'd have to have that. I don't remember where the ram came from, but he was a stud. He would come and make the lambs pregnant, make the sheep pregnant, and then usually about March they'd give birth. They usually had twins. Wow. So we'd have as many as 7 lambs at once. And they were awfully cute, very frisky. And the sad thing was that then they had to kill them to make the meat.
Right.
But we had 5 sheep, and then...
Did you always kill all the lambs, or did you let some grow?
I think we did. Occasionally we had one who was deformed at birth. That one eventually had to go because he was crippled. But no, I think we more or less limited it to one set of twins per each mother ewe. So we'd have 4, maybe 6. The one that was crippled, she had 3, and the last one was sort of squeezed out in such a way that his leg was injured. So that was, I think probably Glory would remember that. But they were fun to watch and not too difficult to take care of.
Did you shear them in the summer and make blankets and stuff?
Yeah, we did. Had somebody come in and shear them. We sent the wool away to a factory in Shippensburg, and we could select from a catalog what pattern and what color we wanted. So we had all of our blankets came from there. They're still in use today.
They're beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And you had chickens?
Nick wanted to try chickens, and this came about because when we were in Brant visiting my mother's people, my uncles and cousins and everything, they always had a chicken barbecue going. And the chicken barbecue was run by an Italian family that I knew from high school.